as I went on to YouTube and I started getting ready to prep for the recording of this video, I realized that this is number 90. And I was like, holy crap, 90 videos, man. So I went back to look at the very first one because I never watch any of these videos. I don't even watch them before I upload them. I can't stand the sound of my own voice, and I'm my own worst critic. So if I were to watch or listen, I would probably end up never even posting it. But I went to the very first video and it was 70 seconds long. I was like, my God, 70 seconds. And look what it's turned into. I never would have imagined we would have went this far, this long. It was never part of my plan to continue making these videos. It was guys like Bill Jammer with Jammer's Wrestling Mag's page, who even started his own page thanks to watching our channel. Eric Kay and Lamont Ricks and guys like Ernesto Cruz. I mean, Ernest Cruz. There's a bunch of dudes who I've been talking to. Don Wilcox. All you guys who've just pushed me to keep going on and putting out more videos, and you had asked me to talk and explain more stuff. I never thought anyone would even give a shit, but number 90, man, it's crazy. So thanks to all you guys out there and others. You know who you are. You guys have been with me from the start. RCM 25, Pulsar Lights, Black Atheist Millionaire, Lamont Ricks, off the top of my head, Stefan Germanelli. I mean, all you dudes, man, you guys have been great. And the reason I'm here is because of all you guys out there. And thanks for your comments and continued support and good positive energy that you guys spread. Your comments are one of the most important parts of the videos, because you guys bring your own experience to the table and share with all of us, and people are reading it and people are seeing it. We got some of these videos get thousands of views, which is shocking, which gets us to this video here. Wrestling Scene is going to be a redo. After I recorded Wrestling Scene, I never had all of them completed. I started looking at some of them and I'd say, you know what? Some of these aren't bad. I'm going to just go grab the rest of them. And over time, I pick up one here and there. And so finally, I finished them all. And this is going to be a look at Wrestling Scene issue number 1, all the way to the end in issue number 51. So it's 51 magazines in all. We're going to take a look at some confusing pieces of Wrestling All-Stars as well. So getting back to our roots, so to speak, and this is exactly why the video channel was made. We're doing a showing of every issue ever printed. So here it is. I haven't done one of these videos in a long time, and some of the ones that I did were 1.5 minutes long, 2 minutes long. I probably should go back and redo some of those with a little more in depth and make them a little bit more presentable. But I'll keep the other ones there also because they're quick, and it's great to just run back and look. If you're just looking to see no nonsense video and trying to find your missing issue, you can get to it a lot faster than going through an hour of video. So Wrestling Scene issue number 1 first hit the newsstands, and it's got Backlund and Snuka for their first meeting at Madison Square Garden. It might be the second meeting. I don't know I can't remember now. And I just finished watching all these matches. We were just talking about Snuka and Backlund in '82. I forget when he wore the black trunks because I'm getting confused with the Spectrum matches. But the second match from MSG was never recorded that we came to figure out, which sucks. It probably would have been a good match to see because the first one and the third one were recorded. Of course, the third one being the cage match. Next issue was in October. I'm sorry, this was in August, by the way. This is August 1982. October 82 was the next issue. Blackjack Mulligan and Andre the Giant. Good feud from the WWF. Backlund and Flair get the December 82 issue of Wrestling Scene, and that does it for 1982. Just 3 issues. Gets us to 1983, and we've got Snuka with Ray Stevens on the cover. The good bloody battle from television when Snuka got his head split wide open. Very cool looking nostalgic cover. These next few with Snuka are for me anyway. Wrestling Scene, next issue, April 19 83. Very hard to find the dates and numbers on these suckers. They are numbered 1 through 51. Some are on the cover, some are inside the magazine. All the dates are inside the magazine. Only a select few have the dates on the outside. So it's a real pain in the ass to find the date on Wrestling Scene, Wrestling Ringside, Wrestling All-Stars. So, you know, you really got to do some searching. If you are looking online on eBay for these, try to know the date the best you can. Refer back to both of these Wrestling Scene videos to help yourself out. It feels heavy. Oh, it was heavy because it's got the program to this match on the back. That's why I was like, man, it feels like there's 2 of them in here. Next issue, May 1983, Hacksaw Butch Reed makes his debut on Wrestling Scene with Ric Flair in the sleeper hold. Tommy Wildfire Rich taking on Buzz Mad Dog Sawyer on July's issue of Wrestling Scene. A good bloody cover, which would be quite becoming of Wrestling Scene from the midpoint on, known for the more of the blood and gut issues. This is August, and it's got Flair and Dusty battling it out in a bloody, bloody mess. Also some oil wrestling on the bottom. October, Wrestling Scene, Briscoe and King Kong Mosca take the cover. November 84, Wrestling Scene, Jimmy the Boogie Woogie Man Valiant and the Great Kabuki take the cover. Another cool looking shot of Valiant and Kabuki. These are all in order. If I don't say the month or I don't say, you know, just follow along, and it'll be, you know, these are all in order. So if I don't say it, just, you know, you'll know what next issue is by just, it's the correct order for it. So January 1985, and it's got Big Barry Windham with Joe LeDuc on the cover. Kevin Sullivan taking on Dusty Rhodes in the February issue, and I believe they run a few issues a month. They didn't run every month. Let's take a look. I don't remember either. So that was, okay, this is March, so far we got 3 in a row. We went from quarterly to every other month to now it looks like every month for March. Abdul the Butcher and the Mad Dog Buzz on the cover. Okay, so that was March. There's no April. This is May of 85. Dirty Yellow Dog, bloody behind the mask is Barry Windham. Dog collar match with Cowboy Ron Bass, Outlaw Ron Bass in another promotion, and a bloody Hogan in the corner, which could have been the match with Dr. D. David Schultz, if I remember right. Barry Windham taking on Ric Flair in the July 85 issue. Good looking cover, good looking shot of Flair hammering down the shots. Good shot of a rare pick of Mike Graham. You don't see Mike on too many magazine covers. Pretty much, not pretty much, his entire career was in the state of Florida, wrestling for his father's company and Championship Wrestling from Florida. Great company. Again with Buzz Sawyer in a dog collar match. Blood for Buzz on every one of these. Big Joe with the finger in his mouth, choking out Bruiser Brody on the bottom here in Texas, I believe. Bloodbath at the Alamo. Yep. And let's see, this is September issue 85. I think we're still in 85. I hate, that's why I hate about these magazines. They don't tell you. This is November. Wahoo taking on Tully Blanchard for the U.S. title. Good bloody bout here. That's an older picture from the actual magazine date. Bruiser Brody taking on Carlos Colon in Puerto Rico. Slaughter in San Juan. Abdullah the Butcher annihilate Brody and Hanson, and this is number 19. So now we're going to start seeing some numbers on these. I think it started at 18. Yeah, I should mention this too. From 18 on, it's real small, written right here on inside the G. It says number 18. You need a magnifying glass to almost see the freaking thing. But so from here on out, it should be all numbered on the outside of the magazines. So this is number 19. It's in the G. It's not always in the G. They move it around sometimes too, so it gets even harder to find. So they'll start doing that, and they'll get rid of the month. So you really get screwed on figuring out. So if someone's going to sell these issues and they don't know what they're looking for, they could list it as anything, and it could be a pretty valuable, hard to find magazine, and it's listed wrong, and you guys can't find it. So be aware of that. Okay, so this is January's issue of 86. Brody and Cologne. Road Warriors take the cover. Tommy Wildfire Rich, and he's split open on the forehead. Another good bloody shot starting out in wrestling scene for February 1986. Ricky Steamboat, Tully Blanchard in a great feud from the Mid-Atlantic for the U.S. title. And this is number 21 and April's issue wrestling scene. Backlund taking on the Masked Superstar. AWA bound is Backlund at this point, losing the WWF title. Had some pretty good matches with the Masked Superstar, one being in the Garden in 83 before losing to the Sheik. Star Wars 85 is the coverage for this issue of July, wrestling scene number 23. And let's see, I thought there was another big event they were talking about on this one. Maybe it's not. Okay, Star Wars 85 was an event that took place in the Meadowlands, quote unquote, the first showing of the NWA and the NWA title in the Northeast, which it was here a year before, called Clash of the Champions, or no, Night of the Champions. But this is the first joint show with AWA, NWA coming together to team up in a big arena in Vince's territory here. So this was the first one that kicked it off. Several Star Wars 85s, but this is the one that gets the main name. If you look up online and it's incorrectly printed, there's several other ones. They're calling it Star Wars 85, like the January show, the April show, the August show. They were calling them Star Wars 85, and they weren't. So don't get confused with that either. Check out our program video, and we'll run down every program the AWA Pro Wrestling USA put out. And if you're a collector of those, you'll see every one of those programs listed in the order with the proper name. Number 24, wrestling scene, August, and it's got Hogan taking on Piper in WrestleMania 1, and Mr. T on the bottom here gets the small cover shot. Kerry Von Erich on the small side, Don Morocco up high on issue number 25. Tito and Valentine for the Intercontinental title, September's issue of Wrestling Scene. Tully and Dusty in a barbed wire match from the Great American Bash in November's issue. And let's see, there's nothing else. I thought there was something else I wanted to point out. Okay, number 26, Wrestling Scene, Dusty and Tully. Magnum and Abdullah on issue number 27, and good bloody shot there. Abdullah getting the foreign object into the head. Barbed wire match in Puerto Rico with the bloodthirsty sheep herders, not the toned down lunchbox guys, the bushwhackers. February 19, I think we're in 87 now. 86, yeah, this is 86, I'm sorry. February 1986, and this is the barbed wire match in Puerto Rico. That match was online not too long ago, maybe about a year ago. I remember watching it. It wasn't bad. Wrestling Scene, April 86, number, making sure I'm in the numbers. There's no number on the front of it, that I can see. Or that, or they moved it to another really small spot. But yeah, that's weird. No number on it on the outside. Oh, I'm sorry, right here, 29. It's so small, it's ridiculous. I mean, who the hell can see something like that, especially if you're a collector and you're trying to get each number and you want to go by numbers. Nothing's more confusing than Wrestling News with their numbers. It's unbelievable. 30, May, Wrestling Scene, Bloody Magnum, TA taking on Nikita Koloff at the Bash, 86. Wyndham and Flair get the June cover. and another good blood. These guys have several wars on a lot of magazines together, man. They had some classic matches, Wyndham and Flair. You know, it's a shame, like I said it before, what I love for Barry to took the NWA title and wore the big gold. I mean, I know he did, but it wasn't the same, and the magic was gone by that point, and he truly deserved to have that title, especially if Kerry Von Erich held it. I mean, and Ronnie Garvin, he should have definitely held it. It's a shame. July, wrestling scene, and it's got the U.S. title feud, best of 7 series that was going on in Mid-Atlantic Crockett territory, NWA to most people. Nikita and Magnum once again taking that cover, and that was also on a boatload of magazines. One thing I hated about wrestling scene is you see this little corner here where it's cut out. They cut the cover off, and then you see the magazine coming down here. That's because they have a trifold poster inside, or a two-fold poster inside, and I hate it when they did that. And I hate it when they put a poster on the back of the cover. I mean, then to take it out and hang it up, you got to rip the cover off. I mean, that was like the stupidest design ever. But I mean, compared to most, we didn't get anything in color. So I guess, you know, take the good with the bad. Besides PWI, you got no poster at all. Wrestling scene was always great for color pinups and the posters as well. So I just hated that, you know, kind of design. You've seen the Japanese issues that I have. I mean, they do it right. They give you a really nice pull-out posters, and it's done without ripping the cover off. Good looking cover with Brody taking on Freebird in a barbed wire match in Texas Stadium. Wrestling scene, September number 33. Sheepherders and the Fantastics had a brutal, bloody battles in Universal Wrestling. Bill Watts, Mid-South, the new Universal company that Mid-South turned into. Short-lived. We were just talking about it with Bill Jammer the other day, how cool it was and how good the TV was and how, you know, inspiring that was to so many people, especially in the in the ECW. I know Raven was a big fan of it, and Raven had a lot to do with a lot of the ECW feuds and back brawls that they pulled from Watts' TV programming. Wrestling scene number 34, October. Wrestling scene, December, and so you can see how they go from October, no November, December, it'll go January, February, March, no April, so you really got to pay attention to the numbers and the dates. They have like no rhyme and reason with these in order, and it could drive a collector absolutely batshit trying to find a missing issue only to find out that they never printed one that month. And it's happened to me looking for The Wrestler in '78, realizing there's no June after spending 4 years of looking for a magazine that never existed, longer than 4 years. That was just ridiculous. But December, wrestling scene, Kevin Von Erich taking on Abdullah, Harley Race cashing some big checks as the king up north. Abdullah and classic battles with Carlos Colon, and I have a couple of Puerto Rican issues too, that come to think of it, with Carlos and Abdullah. I should dig those out. We were just going over some old magazines that I had, you know, some from French issues and some Lebanese issues, and I remembered I have some Puerto Rican issues were better, I mean different than the Lucha magazines from Mexico. I think these were called, I think it was called All-Star Wrestling or Wrestling All-Stars, something like that. I gotta try. I don't have many, maybe 12 of them or something like that, but I remember Colon and Abdullah on a bunch of the covers that I got. Marty Jannetty and Doug Summers, AWA battle for the tag team titles in the April issue, number 37. Barry Windham once again with Flair. This is number 37, wrestling scene, Rock and Roll Express on the top with the tag team titles. Tony Atlas on a rare cover for him. It was not on very many. Bloodied Up with Abdullah, number 39 in June, and this is also down in Puerto Rico. I say down because I'm in New York, so that's down for me. Inside coverage of WrestleMania from 85 to 87 on issue number 40 in July. Wrestling scene, Arn Anderson with the red TV title in the top corner. Red TV title was always my favorite of the TV belts. WrestleMania 3, covering August number 41. I'm just realizing Harley Race was in WrestleMania 3. Wow. I never watched that. This was, like I told most of you guys know, this was the last event I ever watched for the WWF, and never watched another show after that. And I never, if you would have asked me was Harley ever in WrestleMania, I would have said no. That's how much I pay attention to that shit. Finger in the mouth of Ronnie Garvin, Ric Flair, checking his fillings, number 42, September wrestling scene, and a look at manager Jim Cornette. That's not a popular thing to see Cornette on the cover of a mag. Leave it to wrestling scene. He actually used to be a photographer himself and took some great shots. I have some really good pictures that Cornette took from Memphis in those Japanese issues that I got. A couple good ones from Nick Bockwinkel versus Jerry the King Lawler. I was just looking at those not too long ago, and his name is in the Japanese magazines getting credit for the photos. I think they got like $50 for a photo in from Japan, and I believe in America, I don't want to get it wrong because I have a few photographers that watch the channel, so correct me if I'm wrong. Was it in the 70s you guys were getting like 25 a pop and maybe a little more for color? I can't remember. I think it was 25 per picture. But which, you know, it sounds good by the time you get there and your travel and your expenses, and you develop the film and you throw half of them out because they didn't come out good, and you know it sounds great, but after you add all your expenses up, you know, it could be either way for you depending how good your photos were, right? Number 43, October, bloody Barry Windham on the cover. Another Abdullah and Cologne donning the cover of Wrestling Scene number 44 in December, and it's another Slaughter in San Juan, War of Hatred. And these two, of course, bled buckets all over Puerto Rico and through the NWA territory. Even in a Starrcade they met, I believe. Lex Luger, bloody Dusty Rhodes for the U.S. title in the Mid-Atlantic territory, February issue number 45. And I believe we're in 80. Is this 88? Shit, I'm killing you guys, sorry. Yeah, I think it's 88. Michael P.S. Hayes and Flair on the Wrestling Scene number 46, April. Number 47, Sheepherder Slaughter. Every issue is like Slaughter written in there, right? Because they're just known for their blood and guts that this magazine was, and that's so much we loved about it. At the time, you know, I hated these issues. I was like, Wrestling Scene sucks. It's not as cool as, you know, as the Stanley West and Bill Apter magazines. But as time went on, I learned to appreciate these because Ringside, the Scene, All-Star, they all went to, you know, territories that others weren't going to, and they were putting up the controversial pictures when the rest of them were putting out, you know, little kitty pictures and girly pictures, and these guys were putting out shit for guys like us who love to see brawls and blood, and you know, what wrestling turned into, you know, for us, that's what turned us on to a lot of it. And when they wiped all that away and made it a cartoon, it turned a lot of us off. So the magazines got cleaned up along with the wrestling product on the television. So it was up to guys like George Napolitano and the others to take these photos for us and get them on the covers of these magazines, and they're just great looking shots. I mean, the photos, you're never ever going to see a magazine like this ever again, and that's terrifying. You know, magazines are being wiped out little by little every single day. I never thought I'd see the day where boxing magazines would end. From 1922 to 2022, the Ring was in existence, and now it's gone. I don't read wrestling or Pro Wrestling Illustrated, but I certainly don't want it to disappear. It's probably going to be next. I don't see it surviving. The only magazine that's in full circulation, that's a weekly magazine, it's a full, thick weekly magazine, is in Japan, Pro Wrestling Weekly, and that one's not going anywhere, but it's not in English. They really should get an English version because they cover every territory around the globe, and it's a thick, full 100-page magazine every week. Wrestling Scene, November, number 48, and Mike Rotundo with Dusty Rhodes talking about the Great American Bash. Back to Puerto Rico, from Slaughter to Flames. It's Hercules Olea taking on Carlos Colon in the Mean Wars he and Hercules would have Hercules back and forth with the WWC North American title, which is the second biggest singles belt in World Wrestling Council, WWC. Macho Man Savage and Miss Elizabeth, Hot Stuff, Eddie Gilbert in the top. And we're coming down to close to the end here. I believe this is number 50. And 51 is ending it for Wrestling Scene. The very last issue would be August. This is 1989. And no longer is Wrestling Scene. Not that anything was wrong. They just changed their publication around. They added 2 more magazines. Was Superstar Wrestler, and then I went to Superstar Wrestlers, and it was one other one that was new by them. But they also still had All Stars and Ringside, which would continue on till the year 2000 something. So that was the end, the very last Wrestling Scene. This video is going to continue on just a little bit longer. I want to discuss a few things with you while we're on the same topic about All-Star Wrestling, Wrestling All-Stars rather. It's confusing to collectors, and I should point it out and do it proper. Though I don't have every All-Star Wrestling All-Stars, let me get the name correct. I have, 80%, and I show most of them in a different video. I'm not going to show them all, but I'm going to show you the original 14 and where the big change comes in. That's very confusing for people, and some people may have never even picked up on it. And for those of you who have picked up on it or wondering why there's another number 2 or another number 3, let me explain. Very first issue, All-Star Wrestling, came out October 1983. Dirty Dick Slater and Flair were on the cover. This would go for 14 issues. So I'll leave it just like that for now. Okay, so this issue number 1, December 1983. Issue number 2, Blackjack Mulligan taking on the Purple Haze. Sorry about that. I'm going to lose my production here. My thing's going to collapse. All-Star Wrestling, Abdullah the Butcher taking on a bloody Blackjack Mulligan. Good to see Blackjack on the cover again. He went back down to Championship Wrestling from Florida and finished out his career. I think May went to Texas shortly after that, had a quick feud with Bruiser Brody, and then he went off to prison for just a little while. Talking about Valentine and Piper, but the main page, Starrcade 83, Flair for the gold. April 84's issue, Wrestling All-Stars for Starrcade 83's coverage. All inside here with a poster of Wyndham and Rotundo. And this is issue number 4. Issue number 5 is your first look at Woman before she became the Falling Angel with Kevin Sullivan in Florida Wrestling. Good looking look at Benoit Nancy Sullivan in June of 1984's issue, and Billy Jack first cover posed as well. Hulk Hogan with the new green belt from the WWF, having a new champion, defeating the Iron Sheik. Number 7, October 84, Kerry Von Erich takes the gold from Ric Flair, Texas Stadium at the Parade of Champions. Fabulous Freebirds, number 8, December 1984. All 3 original Freebirds. I believe the first 2 was Michael and Bam Bam, and then Buddy Jack came on shortly after, before Jimmy Garvin would take over. I really didn't like Jimmy Garvin there. It was all right with Garvin and Bam Bam, but without Bam Bam there, or just Hayes and Garvin, I kind of didn't really dig it myself personally. I know some guys loved it, but just it was better than nothing. But I think Hayes is better within a tag team. He's made for tag team wrestling better than his singles. February 85, Dusty Rhodes, issue number 9. Issue 10, got all 3 champions, Martel being the newest champion, taking the AWA throne. Cyndi Lauper on the cover, Captain Lou, and Hulk Hogan, the Rock and Wrestling connection, and they were the first to bring rock music, and I think Bad Street USA was before that. So of course the bigger name gets to make the noise, and they're considered to be the first, but they really weren't. June 85, number 11. The Von Erichs on the cover, number 12. We're getting close to the release of that movie pretty soon. Looking forward to that, The Iron Claw. This is July 85's issue number 12. 13, Rick Martel and the Sarge. Martel here posing with the AWA title once again. And number 13, August 85. And final issue, 14, Road Warriors with the AWA belts with Precious Paul Ellering, Jesse the Body up in the far corner. And this is it for Wrestling All-Stars. The title changes and it goes back to issue number 1 again, and it's called Heroes and Villains. You see where it's added, and it goes back to number 1. So if you see 2 number 1s and you're wondering what the hell, how does that make any sense, or 2 number 2s, this is the original number 1 for Wrestling All-Stars. This is the original Wrestling All-Stars Heroes and Villains, and this tag will be on the rest of them, and it goes that way. You number 2, number 3, number 4. I'm not going to show them all, but I just grab the. Oh, there goes my production. There goes. That's how it changed, and it can be really confusing for guys who or be like, why the hell do I have like 2 number 7s? And why do I have it made no sense. So that's why. So sorry about the glare. This is why. If I don't set this camera up just right, my glare in my room is awful. So bear with me if I screw things up there. This would go on till sometime in the year 2000. All Stars had come to a stop. Decent magazine. I mean, they had more posed covers. Like, you'll see guys that are posing here rather than the actual matches from Wrestling Scene. So that was the difference. All Stars would be more of posed like the PWI would be. And then Inside Wrestling would be like Wrestling Scene, where they actually had like guys physically wrestling, having in-action poses. Now, each magazine had a scrapbook, and there's several of these. This is Wrestling Scene Scrapbook, and this is number 1 from Wrestling Scene Scrapbook. Came out in 1983, I want to say. I don't remember. I don't have it. It could have been as early as 84. I believe it's 83. This is volume 1. It goes up. It's got several volumes. I didn't bring them all. I just thought I'd show the first 2. Yeah, it's definitely 83 because the Warriors are the national tag team champions in Georgia. So you get that as a poster inside, and that's pretty cool. There's a lot of pull-out pin-ups in here, so that's why these were good. So it's not necessarily a magazine with full articles. It would have a photo of each wrestler, and then the other page would be a little story about who they were. So if you're looking for color pinups, because back in 83 we didn't get shit like that, these were the magazines to grab for stuff like that. And it's great to see belt shots. You got Kerry with the belt, you get Wyndham, or Rotundo rather, with the Florida belt, the Warriors with the national titles. So that's pretty cool. So those are Wrestling Scene Scrapbook, and then there's Wrestling All-Star Scrapbook. There's the major difference. Some will say All-Stars, the other ones won't. Again, this was out in 83. Superstar Graham and the Road Warriors. This is volume 1 with the national titles. Again, good looking pinups in these also. I like the first early couple ones. They got, a little bit ridiculous later on, but I have the first couple, and the earlier ones for me, that's where my heart is, and that's just kind of where I stopped and pulled the plug on some of these. But going back, after doing a few and looking at a couple of Wrestling Scene, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to finish these because I'm so close. I needed another 10. May as well just bite the bullet and get them, even though I really didn't care. So I think I might go after Ringside next and finish all those. I'm damn close to that too. Well, at least completing them to 95 or so. But I have most of them. And this was another scrapbook for All Stars. And it's got a cool looking shot of the Dingo Warrior, who's the Ultimate Warrior, when he was the Texas Heavyweight Champion down in Fritz von Erich's territory. Rude and the Bull, when they were NWA Tag Team Champions. It's a good looking pinup of those guys in there. Also UWF champions, Terry Taylor and Chris Adams. So and the Bulldogs on the bottom. So pretty good. I always liked the scrapbooks. I always thought they were pretty cool. And now you know the difference between the two. One is Wrestling Scrapbook from Wrestling Scene, and the other one is Wrestling Scrapbook, Wrestling All Stars. All right, guys. Thanks for making number 90 possible. And I thank it all, I thank it all to you guys for pushing me to keep this going. And, there's no end in sight. I mean, I'm been working on a video for lady wrestlers, and it's taken me a little longer than I wanted to. There was a lot of material I need to put together. And then there's like a 15-year gap where there's nothing. It's crazy. So this is something that I want to do right. And I want to present it right because I know some people are going to be watching this, and I want to honor them the best that I can, especially the black female wrestlers. I want to make sure I get that right because the WWF certainly didn't get it right at their Hall of Fame. So I want to make sure that I show the proper respect for those ladies. And so that's in the works. And, who knows? Another 90 to follow. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next.